We are on the show floor at ISE 2026, and I have Ben with me from Absen.
Hi, Jenny.
And I'm going to ask Ben, you've only been here a day,
Yep.
but tell our listeners what is on your booth or what's different this year.
Oh, okay. That's a good question. So, on our booth this year, I'm going to say I was very surprised in a good way yesterday morning when I arrived at the booth, because I've seen all the plans for a long time. We've been talking for months of the prep on it, and I've seen the list of products that we're going to show. But it's only when you get here and you see it with your own eyes that you kind of understand what it is and what it is that we're showing and how we're showing it. And the reason I say that is because in the industry in general for a long time, and I only realized yesterday morning, in the industry we've been talking for years and years about a COB revolution, right?
What is it?
Yeah, okay, so COB is, in basic terms, it's a PCB with LED diodes built into it with a resin coating over the top. And that resin coating is super complex, but in basic terms, we call it a resin coating. And what that resin coating does is give extra durability to the front side of the screen. Okay, so you can literally go up to the screen and knock it, and you're not going to cause any problem. Whereas SMDs in the past, especially as pixel pitch came down, got more and more delicate and more fragile, and you could rub up against it and you might take a pixel off, which, you know, if you're putting a screen in a public place isn't ideal. So it kind of combats, in the very small pixel pitches, it combats that. And we've been talking, you know, the industry as a whole, a COB revolution, it's a horrible word, isn't it, revolution, but a COB revolution, it's all going to be COB one day. And we've seen the price drop considerably over the last few years, and that is true. But this year, when I walked around on Monday morning, when we were allowed to look at the stand, I realised that on the Pro AV side of it, so, you know, the business is divided into Pro AV and Live, but on the Pro AV side, all of the products apart from one are COB. Okay. But we're not making a song and a dance about that. We're not. That's not the theme of the booth this year. In fact, I haven't heard any of my Chinese colleagues even mention that fact. It's just happened. And sometimes with technology, that's the best thing that can happen. It just naturally happens when it's at the right moment to. We're not forcing it. Yeah. You know, we're not pushing a product that's not quite ready, which, you know, in previous years at ISE we might have seen some do, perhaps, which is fine because it pushes the industry forward a little bit as well. But most of our screens are COB, and that's a big moment, and it's quite exciting actually. And COB has really improved over the last few years to a point where I feel really confident in front of one of our screens, and that's a nice place to be.
What's happened with price though? Because chip on board has historically been more expensive.
It's been prohibitive to the majority of end users.
Yes.
Unless there's someone who really wants to show off, or there's someone that really wants the latest technology for whatever reason it might be, it has been prohibitive. I'd say, you know, that changed 2 or 3 years ago actually in a lot of cases. In fact, we no longer make, in most cases, very fine pixel pitch in SMD. It's all COB now. The reason being that it's got to the point where equivalent pixel pitches and equivalent characteristics of the screen specifications are pretty much at the same price point, if not slightly cheaper in COB now as well. So in a corporate world, it means that our icon, for example, we've got one on there. Our icon is now, we don't make icon, which is an all-in-one series in big screens, 163, 136 inches. It comes in smaller panels, so you can build it up easily. But that is only available now in COB because it's just a much better product for that type of application. I would also say, I think there's a caveat to all of this, and for me the most exciting product on the stand isn't going to be anybody else's most exciting product on the stand, but there's a reason for that. Every year there's this kind of fight between the manufacturers, and it's a very healthy one, that pushes pixel pitch as small as possible. You know, we're showing a 0.7, we're showing a 0.6, we're showing a 0.5, and that's great because it pushes the industry forward. But those products in themselves aren't relevant products in the market as things are right now, unless someone wants the best of the best and they want to show off, as we said before. But
or they're going to stand right in front of it, I suppose.
But the difference from 0.6 to 0.5,
Isn't
you're going to be
that-
pretty
yeah.
hard pushed
Yeah.
to see it. I mean, hey, it will get to the point when, you know, your television at home at 43 inches might be that.
Yes.
That's a different conversation for... But as things are right now, in the real world, for 99% of the end users that might be looking at using LED, that's nice that it's happening, but it's not relevant to them. What's more relevant is the advances in the pixel pitches that are right now, I want to say reasonably priced isn't the right word, is it? But are a sensible purchase. So your
Okay.
1.2s, your 1.5s, even the 0.9. So those price points are, they've dropped amazingly over the last 5 years, over the last 2 years really, to the point that, as we said before, so equivalent pixel pitch with the SMDs that we used to make, it's actually cheaper to buy it in COB now. But for me, this is the point I was trying to make. Sorry, I've gone round a bit. For me, the most exciting product are the larger pixel pitch COB that we have,
Okay.
which is a bit different, I think, from the perspective that others will have. In fact, when we did the booth tour with our Chinese colleagues, they didn't even stop and talk to us about that product, even though we've got it on the booth. It's the COB XL. But I think from a real world perspective, it's exciting because it's a 1.5 and a 1.8 COB. It's a entry level COB product. Okay, so when my Chinese colleagues, all respect to them, said we are going to be launching in Europe an entry level COB product, your heart sinks for a moment, and you think, oh, all this work that we've done building up the brand, you know, Absen brand over the years, and we bring out one product which isn't quite up to scratch, that you know, that could undo a bit of the hard work that we've done. But when I saw it with my own eyes on Monday, it was the biggest surprise that I got. That the performance of that product is excellent.
And where is it best suited?
So, I was saying before, you know, there's competition of lowering pixel pitch, and that's fine for even home cinemas and things, maybe for, you know, top end, high end customers. But I'm talking more about making COB attainable for retail, which is kind of the world that I've come
Right.
from and that I'm focused on with LED, for anywhere where the screen is in a public space, so even a hotel lobby, perhaps, an office lobby, you know, where people might go up out of curiosity and touch the screen. Worst case scenario in retail, fast fashion, you've got people, you know, kids walking up to the screen and hitting it and
Yes.
knocking it, and or people very carelessly walking
Bumping
past
into
with
it,
bumping
yeah.
into it, and that's fine, and that's the real world, right?
Yeah.
And with larger pixel pitch SMD that we had in the past at 3.9, well, you could just about get away with it because the plastic mask that was between the pixels would give enough protection, and you could just swap it out.
And a pixel gone, I suppose, over the total canvas might not be so obvious.
yeah, that's true as well.
At a wider pixel pitch.
That's true as well, absolutely true as well. And you could just swap out the modules, and it wasn't too much of a big deal. But when the SMDs got smaller, you know, below a 2.5, then it does get quite delicate, the truth is. And then, you know, do you want to be putting protection in front of the screen? Some do that, and that's fine. Not everyone can be a Louis Vuitton with a security guard in the door saying, you know, controlling who comes into the store.
Yep.
There are locations where it's a lot more susceptible, let's say. You know, let's say, not to name drop, but imagine, you know, an IKEA with a trolley, someone going around with a trolley being a little bit careless. If that trolley hits a screen, it's going to hurt, right? It's going to do damage. So with these COB products in the 1.5 and the 1.8, which aren't getting much attention, but as I, not to, you know, go on about it, but I'm excited about it. It makes COB a very, very good option
Durable.
for retailers. It's
Yeah.
durable, and it's at a price point now where we can match in a pixel pitch on one of our normal SMD product, not the high-end SMD stuff, but a normal SMD product. It's like for like, so it's a bit of a no-brainer in that regard to swap over to COB. And in fact, I think the conversation of convincing a customer to drop down from a 2.5 SMD to a 1.8 COB is actually a very possible conversation right now, especially if they can come and see with their own eyes the advantages of that. That's not to knock SMD. There's another thing that's happening as well. You know, we've got these contrasting technologies, but the LED industry's always had that, right? We started with DIP on the outdoor screens. We still make a couple of DIB products, right, for outdoor. And there are still advantages to that product. SMD came along. It's not that it's better than, it was a product that lived simultaneously and allowed us to reduce the pixel pitch, which we couldn't do with the DIP before that. So, okay, that's fine. And then COB's come along, and it's not that it's better than SMD as a technology. It's a different technology for a different use case.
And there are advantages for those use cases.
And exactly right. So they, you know, they can live side by side. So there will be times when, so on our stand, we've got, for example, a double-sided P2.5 big hanging screen. It's our KDS.
Double-sided.
Double-sided.
Okay.
So that's designed, which, you know, you might think in a shopping mall or in a train station or in a public space where you want to be advertising on both sides. So it's less than 40 millimeters thick, which is easy to say, but when you see a giant screen hanging as we have on the stand here, and it's only 40 mil thick, that looks really clean. It looks really nice. It looks really modern. It looks really lightweight as well. And it has that wow factor that we spoke about before.
And I think I've seen something transparent on your booth.
You've seen something
this
transparent
week.
as well. So we can combine those two things. So we've got the transparent, we've got the JDH, the P6, so it's 6 horizontally, 6 vertically. And we could call it a film, I guess, if you wanted to call it that. How we have it presented, it's hanging up high on the booth. So there's no glass, right? Because we can't manage massive pieces of glass at a trade show. And an exhibition. But ideally what you would do is you would stick that to the front or to the rear of a large piece of glass. We might think of it, you know, an atrium in a shopping mall facing outwards.
And what does it look like when it's switched off?
So when it's switched off, it's got 70% transparency, I think, the P6. So when it's switched off, it just looks like there's almost like a mesh over the window. But that 70% transparency allows you to see what's happening on the outside. And more importantly than that, the reason why you would probably put in a transparent LED screen in that kind of scenario, there are two reasons. One of it is you've still got the wow factor of it. You know, a normal person isn't used to seeing transparent LED, and when the screen's off and suddenly comes on with a bit of content, you still get that, oh wow, I didn't even know that was a screen moment, which is kind of cool.
Active glass, active wall.
Yeah, perfect. And the other practical side of it, which is very important, is it allows light to come into the space behind, right? So I've known retailers that have been using it quite well for 10 years. But you have the conversation of, well, what can you do with a transparent screen? And it is stunning, but you have to pretty much make content especially for it.
Design that content.
Content and have it. And not everybody can do that. Not everybody understands why you need to do that. But the reason you need to do that is because with a normal LED screen or a television at home, the contrast comes from the blacks that are on the panel, right?
Which you can't produce. And
you can't do that with transparent. Yeah. There's no black there. What the contrast comes from however dark the space behind that screen is. So if it's quite light behind that screen, then there's very little contrast on it. And so if you are, I've seen case studies in China where there are enormous transparent screens and they are showing advertising content. But they're showing standard advertising content. And I think, well, whoever is paying for that probably isn't conscious or weren't at the time of it all being sorted out
of what it was
actually going to look like. And it looks, at night it looks fine because the space behind it, the lights are turned off and it looks okay. But during the day, if you've got a bit of text on there or you're trying to show off your product on that screen, it has almost a detrimental effect, actually. Those screens are more for bright colours, moving objects,
I think the key with
effects.
Transparent is to make use of the physical behind the glass, right?
Sure.
So, build that into your content. That's when it looks best.
That's a very cool thing to do. I've been saying for a long time, and a few have done it, but not many do. If you can combine the screen and the window with an object behind it and play with that, then that's a brilliant thing to do. That's a brilliant thing. You're absolutely right.
And the right reason to use transparent.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's finish with a question, and I know we've only had one day.
Yeah.
But I've had a quick whiz around your booth. I haven't been on yet for my full booth tour, and I've seen a stage area, and I've seen examples for retail, and I've seen the transparent, and I've seen an example for a corporate boardroom.
Yeah.
What type of end users or customers, what's drawing people to the stand, or what's the biggest group of people and use case that you've seen? What's most popular? Is it that virtual production stage area, or is it corporate, is it retail?
Yeah, correct. So I think we can divide our clients into two, right? So we've got the rental and staging side of it, so that we've won prizes for our PL product, for example, and I'm not an expert in that type of product, but the stage that we have looks stunning. In fact, we are launching here a COB rental product, which tells us where we're going with the COB, right? Which is really unusual, apparently.
So next year there'll be none.
Well,
be
maybe
no
not, maybe not, exactly, or anything below 1.5 won't be. So that side's getting a lot of attention. The stage and our star product that's getting most attention is the new CLV3 we have, which is, so I spoke earlier about our entry level, let's say, COB product, which I think is great for 1.5 and 1.8. On the other end of the scale, we've got our premium LED, the CLV3. So we're showing off the 1.2, but we also have a 0.9.
And where is that ideal for?
So that's the show-off screen that we said before, right? This is a high-end corporate lobby.
Okay.
This is a conference room.
No IKEA trolleys running into this.
No, exactly. Well, hey, I tell you what,
it would survive.
It would survive,
okay.
and it would look great in a high-end retail location, and the price point isn't as crazy as you might think.
Yeah.
And what's incredible about that screen is that it's 1,200 nits, which is high bright actually for COB, for indoor COB, or for normal COB, and it's got 1,600 peak brightness, so you can pick out parts of the screen and increase that brightness if you activate that function. But more than that, it's 30,000 to 1 contrast ratio. And I've had this issue that I've been talking to people for a while about 30,000 to 1 contrast ratio, and that's just words, right? It's just numbers, just words. It's very hard to visualize that. But when you see how, in simple terms, how deep the blacks are on the screen and how that brings out the whites and the colors on that, then it looks absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
The screen is stunning. It's one of the stars of the show, I would like to think, to be honest. I mean, I haven't been to every stand yet, but I'm very particular and very fussy. And when I looked at the screen and I get really close to it, look at the viewing angle, look at the shine of it in the matte finish, and I can't find fault in it. And I would encourage anybody that gets the opportunity to come and see it to do that. I'm focusing on because I really love the XL, as I said before, because I can see the use in that. But the most stunning screen is the CLV3. We've also got, I have to mention it, we've also got a semi-outdoor COB.
Okay.
In a full outdoor enclosure.
Semi-outdoor.
Yeah, okay. I need to be careful with that. So the screen itself, we sell the screen within an enclosure.
Right.
And that enclosure is fully outdoor. So we can say it's an outdoor solution. Okay? And what it is on the inside of that is a high bright 3,500 nit P1.2 COB. Again, these things roll off the tongue, right? But actually, that is quite an achievement. That means that COB becomes accessible to advertising companies that want to do to swap out 70, 80-inch monitors that might be on a bus shelter, for example, and you can swap it out for LED with the brightness advantages, the durability advantages,
lifetime,
with all the
lifespan of the product,
correct,
right.
the repairability, I would even say, on that as well. And so that we've got it on the stand, and it looks incredible. So as a whole, the product itself is outdoor, designed for that, and on the inside of that is the 3,500 nit COB 1.2. So for advertising now, it needs to be that smaller pixel pitch, because if you've got text that needs to legally be read, for example, on an advert, then it needs to be that tighter pixel pitch, and that's worth seeing as well. That's stunning too.
Great. Thank you very much.
No, you're welcome.
So I'm going to let Ben get back to his booth. And where can people reach you, Ben, if they didn't come to ISE and they want to know more about the Absen range?
Okay. Well, feel free to email me. benjamin.phelps@absen.com. I'd be very happy to answer any questions, or if anybody wants more information about that. If not, you can visit abseneurope.com website as well.
Perfect. Thanks so much for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Jenny.